Business ownership has never been hotter, but how do you do it? That's where I come in. Allow me to guide you on your journey. Welcome to Ion Franchise. This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing. Up next. So you alluded to this white label solution. Talk about how that helps your franchisees.
Yeah, really, we're looking for somebody who wants to build a team.
I love this sort of partnership. Everybody's got skin in the game. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising, and I'm your host, Lance Graulich. So everybody loves real estate and real estate-related businesses. I hear it all the time. Such a great way to get rich. Do anything in real estate. Well, you have to know what the heck you're doing. Well, here's something you might not even know exists. This is a brand called ReUp, and I have the founder and CEO, Mr. Ryan Sawchuk here. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Lance, really do appreciate you having me, and excited to be here for our conversation.
I am so excited to talk to you. So tell me, how did this come about? How'd you get in the world of franchising? And tell everybody all about ReUp.
Yeah. So my background's pretty not typical, I would say, for franchising, but I started out thinking I wanted to be in investment banking. Hated that. Learned that I really wanted to actually learn how to sell. So I actually went out to Silicon Valley and learned from some of the best companies on the planet, Zora, which is a subscription-based business, and then led CrowdStrike's global sales development team. That was a really awesome thing because it was the fastest company to $1 billion in revenue by the time that we went IPO. I led their team, led over 120 individuals on that team. But
Awesome.
During the pandemic, I actually had one of my friends have an unfortunate thing happen. Her mom passed away, and she inherited a house. And long story short, she didn't have the time, energy, money, or knowledge of how to fix up the house. And Heather, she's great. She's got 2 kids, but she doesn't have 2 pennies to rub together. And that's her life legacy that she could have turned around. She could have used it as college funds for her kids, could have used it as retirement funds. And during the pandemic, I was just sitting there scratching my head. I was like, how do we put the power of real estate back in the individual's hands? And that was really the genesis of ReUp. And I took a lot of the same knowledge that I learned at CrowdStrike, pairing technology based with services to create the ReUp platform. And then while we were testing out and eating our own dog food here in Texas, specifically Austin and San Antonio, realized that real estate is hyper local. You cross one road and something's completely changed.
Yeah.
So franchising made 100% sense to us. We didn't want to do the glass tower approach that Zillow and Open Door did. We wanted to have these hyper local individuals who brought this knowledge base to us to deliver these amazing customer experiences, and the rest has been history. So
That is pretty amazing. So this isn't, as you gave your example of, I think it was Heather, regarding this isn't about, I mean, this is about renovating houses, flipping houses, but you're not actually investing as a franchisee in all of that. So talk a little bit deeper about that process or part of the process.
Yeah, so it all starts with base, our technology layers. So what we do is we digitize houses, and a lot of people don't realize this, but the house is still a product when you're selling it. So let's design and tailor that product exactly to the buyer's specifications. So we work with brokers, we digitize their entire portfolio to let the buyer be able to choose, modify things. And with that platform, they're able to wrap all of that change up into their services and into their mortgage. And we're changing out what they want during the close of escrow. But our real power comes because we're seeing all of these houses before they go to market. Our real power comes when we see those real houses that need a lot of work, the house that Heather inherited. And what we do is we agree with the home seller. We say, hey, you're going to sell this house, and it's going to go to an investor. It's going to go to like a flipper type. That flipper is going to buy it for $400,000. They're going to put $100,000 into it, and they're going to sell it for $650,000. So they got to go borrow $500,000, and you're making no money off of that. They're making the money off of your primary asset. What we agree with them, and it's a win-win situation, and that's how I like to operate, is we're going to agree your house is worth $400,000. We're not buying it from you, though. We're going to pump in the $100,000 of renovations for it, And then when we do sell it for $650,000, we're going to split that $150,000 50-50. So you're going to take 75 and we're going to take 75. And typically we're working with somebody's primary residence. So usually if you've lived there for 2 years and it's been your primary residence, it's also tax free. So where are you going to get $75,000 tax free as the home seller with no risk and exposure for you?
I love this sort of partnership. Everybody's got skin in the game.
Mhm,
Nobody's risking too much. I mean, obviously, this is a business. You
mhm,
guys have calculated. Flipping homes have been around forever. You know
mhm.
what, comps are, right? I mean, so you have a whole team dedicated to this by now.
Yep, yep, yep. So we've got an entire team. We support our franchises on the underwriting side. We work with the local agents to understand all the comps and everything. And one of the really unique things, if you look, and we've run stress tests, and again, our background is really a finance background. That's really where ReUp's power comes in from the franchisor perspective. We've ran stress tests on our portfolio with '08 type simulations, and really, the thing that took flippers out in '08 was the fact that they had the carry cost of the entire asset on their
Yes.
books. They had to carry the $500,000 in the interest associated with it. And
Yes.
that's what took them out. We're only carrying the $100,000 of renovations. So our risk reward is much different balanced. And even in an '08 type situation, we actually survive. We don't make a ton of money, but we survive. And again, I don't think we're going to see an '08 type situation. We're in such low inventory stock right now. It's a great time for a re-up franchise.
Yeah, and so let's dive into what the investment is. You have
Mhm,
quite a few franchisees already and more
mhm,
coming. So
mhm,
talk a little bit about the investment and then also when you're talking about how low cost this is, and I already
mhm,
know the audience is now on the edge of their seats wondering like, how do I get into this? What is this about? You can start home based or you can build
mhm,
this experience center, if you will, which
mhm,
we can talk about the options. But what do you also do for those franchisees that maybe need financing for the homes? Are you helping
mhm,
them with financing, if you will,
mhm.
to help these homeowners?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there is no office location that we require. It's a $50,000 upfront fee. That's for a 5-year protected service area. So you get a 750,000 person population area where we don't sell additional franchises in. And that's for 5 years. There's a little bit of a monthly running cost. That monthly running cost essentially supports your technology and underwriting services and things like that on the back end. But really, you're going to market with your team, your sales team, and positioning this to brokers, positioning this to agents. And when we started, it was 4 cell phones, a Google Sheet, and we started signing our first deals. We did 17 transactions our first year, which was really cool to be able to achieve for us. And we really don't want to have this giant behemoth of a thing where you're coming in with $1 million McDonald's franchise. We want to be able to be nimble, light. It is a startup, and we run it like a startup. So like that's how we're really coming to market. If our franchises want, they can, and there is an option for them to develop an experience center. ReUp is it's a new concept. We've got patented protections. This is something that you've never seen before. So some of our franchisees, actually one of our franchisees came up with the idea where you can come in, feel, touch, and see the product. And he actually is opening up his experience center right now, and he's actually already got a $750,000 paper gain on that experience center. We bought it in a development area. We revitalized it, so it was a really good project. It's two blocks away from the Vegas Sphere as well, and through that revitalization, we've already got a $750,000 gain on it. So multiple ways to make cash for the franchisee, and it's a really fun product overall.
So is the purpose of the experience center, as it sounds, you bring potential uh, partners, if you will, in this scenario to the experience center to know that you guys are legit, if you will?
Yeah, it's a couple different things. So we've got a couple things that you've never seen before in the real estate space, and with the technology, there's other revenue streams that our franchisees can bring in, such as licensing revenue, where we're licensing it to brokers, we're licensing it to flippers, we're licensing it to new construction builders. But what that experience center does is it allows them to actually see and feel the base product and the experience that we really want to bring to our customers.
Sure.
Um, a lot of people, so 80% of first time home buyers last year actually regretted their purchase decisions. And you got to think about it. Real estate transactions, like they've just become this behemoth of a thing, and people aren't having fun anymore. And I talk about like milestone moments in your life. You remember your first kiss, you remember your first car, you remember your first home purchase, you remember your wedding. Like, let's make that purchase again fun. And by being able to bring them into the design and experience center, they're able to see, touch, feel, and see how ReUp actually operates from the
Yeah.
technology perspective, and then how we pair that services to bring it to life and reality.
Yeah, I think it's a fresh approach, this experience center, because as I alluded to, there's a lot of people out there, especially contractors that are no good. And it's a process that's very scary to a lot of homeowners. So
Mhm.
you add that legitimacy where you get to know there's a brick and mortar location. Pretty cool idea.
And to your point too, I mean, it is a scary space to be in. There's a lot of bad practices, and we really want to be that lens for our customers to again make it an easier experience. The contracting space is so fractured for single family residencies. Again, that's an opportunity for us to change that experience, be that lens for our home sellers and our home buyers, where they're not having to interact with the rigmarole that contractors can give to clients.
So you alluded to this white label solution. Talk
Mhm.
about how that helps your franchisees.
Yeah. So ReUp really has three moats, which is really, really good for us from a protection perspective and also competition. But those moats are our franchise network. One, how do we deliver the product? And we watched Zillow and we watched Open Door not be able to do this similar model on the national scale. And I attribute that because they didn't have a franchise distribution method. The second one is our technology layer with base. And then the third aspect is our patented process where we allow buyers to choose and visualize everything and bring it to life with our services. So, what we do is we actually white label that. So, again, talk about different income streams. You've got our services income stream that our franchises can make, but they've also got the technology and the license income that they can make as well. So what we do is we on the franchisor side, we work with the national brokers. We talk to them about white labeling with us. And then our franchisees also approach on the local brokers level. They essentially get a license to all three of those. And then what we're seeing is we're seeing the entire portfolio of that broker before it goes to market because we're digitizing every single asset that they're about to bring to market with our base technology that allows us to essentially see and do some small modifications to homes. But then when those houses that really need the big $100,000 investment, we essentially come to them and say, hey, we can actually extract $150,000 in upside on this. This is the proposal. And it's a great way for our franchisees to increase their lead flow quite significantly because we're seeing every single house that's going to market before it even touches the market.
That's amazing. So obviously you're looking for people with some sort of real estate background already. That's the most helpful, correct?
Yeah, there's a couple things that we look for. A team is always the best option. So that team usually has experience in either construction, they're a GC themselves, and typically they're partnered with a real estate broker as well,
Got it.
or they've got some sort of interest in flipping. And then on their team that they're bringing in, it really needs to lead with a sales function. I alluded to we started with 4 cell phones and a Google Sheet, but that sales function is really, really critical. And I call out this to franchises during the interview process. You're going to fall in love with the ReUp model. There really is nobody who loses in it. And you got to remember when you get back into the trenches that you're still convincing a home seller to give you their most valuable asset. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to destroy it. We'll put it back together, but that takes a lot of trust and credibility. So we also work a lot with their account executives to make sure that they're able to sell and position right, and then making sure that they've also got that operations manager who can interact with those GCs, take what the GCs are saying, translate that into layman's terms, and make sure that we're providing that information to our customers for a great customer experience.
So as a home-based model, you can start at that, $50,000, you pay your franchise fee. Even if you just did a couple 100,000 in revenue your first year,
Mhm.
this is huge margins in this, right?
Yeah, massive margins. So we're looking for our franchisees to at least clip one deal per month. I'd say typically we're seeing our franchisees they're playing with house money on the third deal, if not the second deal. Again, coming into the space, I didn't mention it earlier, but there's no investment capital that they need for the home renovations. We provide all of that. That's also something else that would be incredibly difficult. Most flippers get their capital from what's called a warehouse line, and that warehouse line requires one thing that we would not be able to borrow from, which is a primary on the property. Because again, flippers are buying those houses. We create our own GPLP structure. It's a company called ReUp Fuel that's attached to ReUp, and that funds all of it. And we can again be in second position because we've actually created that capital pool.
Yeah, that's amazing. We did skirt that issue earlier, and I'm glad you answered that. That's amazing that the franchisees don't have to come up with that money for renovations.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And again, we're looking at all these properties, we're underwriting them. So there's a really nice protection layer for them as well, where that's typically enough a space where a lot of flippers get in over their skis. They jump into the space, they get excited, they overbid the house, and then they're walking away with a loss on their first project.
Yeah, and in some instances, one bad decision, one bad move on a house puts you out of business.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So one of the signs of health I tell my clientele as a franchise broker is when you have existing franchisees coming back and buying more territories. Tell me what you're seeing now as a young franchisor. You know, I heard you're seeing a little bit of that.
Yeah. Again, we constantly are working with our franchisees, making sure that we're improving, listening to them, and taking their ideas also and testing them out and then seeing if it works and pushing it down to the rest of the team. So we're iterating constantly, and it's a nice two-way feedback. I do not want to operate a glass tower type business. But we've got 12 locations now, and actually, our two of our franchisees have actually bought area representative agreements from us, and we're developing 38 locations with them. So it's really cool to see them continuing and pardon the pun, but they're re-upping on their re-up franchise.
Yeah. So a single territory you described earlier. So an area rep, is it a county? Is it multiple? I mean, how do you describe what your area representative deal looks like?
Yeah, so our typical area representative deal is an entire state. So you purchase an entire state from us, and then you're working to develop your own franchisees within that network as well, and continuing to expand your presence overall. It's a great growth story. And again, one of my favorite stats actually is you talked about this at the beginning. Everybody wants to get into real estate. You hear that everybody makes so much money in real estate. One of my favorite facts is the U.S. real estate market has created the most millionaires in the history of the world. It's a powerful model, and it's a powerful space to be in.
Yeah, I had a lot of relatives. Both my grandfathers were entrepreneurs, and one was a real estate attorney, and played real life Monopoly, buying his buildings and clients' buildings, commercial and residential. The other grandfather just started his own supermarket chain. So that's how I got to grow up. But I appreciated real estate at an early age. Let's talk a little bit about the advantages. Essentially, you know, with your background, I mean, gosh, the marketing aspects. A lot of people that come to me are like, "What's the value in buying a franchise?" And I said, "Well, you nailed it." And they go, "What did I nail?" I go, "You need to see value. You need to see value in getting married. You need to see value in buying a fancy car, house, and buying a business." So what is that talk about marketing, talk about the vendor relationships that you have as well.
Yeah, so it all comes again back down into our base platform, and base continues to get smarter and smarter as we plug more and more stuff in. But that really is becoming the home lifecycle management system for us. And base, we're continuing to integrate new and new vendors into the space. You and I were talking about one of your cabinet and countertop suppliers actually at the beginning. That would be something where we're able to literally plug them right in, and again, those materials are then there at wholesale pricing for our franchisees to grab. So again, those types of things are really, really powerful. But when we bring a franchise on, it really starts with their 30, 60, 90-day plan. So we're really hitting the market. We're really getting on the phones. We're giving away bases for free to real estate agents to sit there and show them and get them excited about the candy that we have. And then that's starting to see more deals as those are coming in and getting ready to go to market. That starts to generate our proposals and things like that. And once we get our first deal, and we're looking to really have that first deal signed within the first 90 days. If they're pushing in the market hard and doing their sales activities that they need to do. But then we're going through and we're documenting as much as we possibly can, from the before, the afters, the durings, the fun little things as well. We want to be a really big video first type of a firm as well. We think that this is something that people will eat up content wise. And we then take that at the end of it. And when we're listing the house, we're throwing a big block party. So we're barbecuing chicken. We hire the local children to sit there and push lemonade in front of it. And we really, again, want to change the experience of real estate and make it fun again. Have the neighbors come in, see what's happening. They're like, why is this house only 90% finished? Why are the floors not in? It's like your neighbors can sit there and actually choose all their colors. Do you have anybody who would like to move in? Invite all the agents that we've also prospected into to show them the ReUp experience. And really, really make it fun. And then that parlays into more and more pipeline and deals for our franchisees as they continue to push. And then that starts to parlay into broker white labels. And then again, that really creates this really nice lead flow system for us.
I love it. Yeah, and it's not a situation where, I mean, you're just doing digital marketing campaigns. I mean, this is a lot of grassroots explaining what ReUp is truly all about and having people experience it, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things when we went to market was we were like, what type of product do we want? And this was even before we knew that we wanted to have this idea. But one of the nice things about going through a B2B2C model is real estate agents are salespeople. They put all their contact information everywhere and they pick up their phone. So it's not that hard to get a hold of them and have a conversation. We train our franchisees on how to have that conversation and how to approach that in a fun manner.
I love it. So is it more the individual real estate agent becoming a franchisee, or is it, are you looking, obviously you're looking for brokers, you're looking for everybody?
Yeah, really, we're looking for somebody who wants to build a team. So it can be that really top performing real estate agent. It can be the team lead. It can be the broker. It can be that contractor who's got their business and they've seen like, hey, I've continued to scale this out. I've got this team. Or somebody who knows that they're good at people management. Yeah. But ReUp does require a team for you. So it really does make sure that you've got all the different facets. You don't want to sit there, prospect, do a project, not be prospecting while the project's being coordinated. And then you're like, okay, I've got to now find my next project now that one's sold. We want the flywheel continuing to go, and you really never look back and continue to sit there and say, I hit another record month. I hit another record month.
Yeah, I love that. So the process for the folks listening that are interested, obviously they can come through me, they can go direct through you, just refer, say that you spoke to Lance or listen to the podcast. But regarding your process, describe the process a little bit. Is there an opportunity to do validation and really speak to existing franchisees about their success, to make sure that this is the right fit? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, so it's a number of interviews that we will have with our prospective franchisees. We'll send the list and we let you know what we're looking forward to, and we let you know these different things that you should research before, such as like sales methodologies. You don't have to know them 100%, but we want you to know, we want to see that you actually did some research and are thirsty to learn. That's one of the most.
I love that you give them homework before they're a franchisee.
Yep. We want to see that they're going to learn, because what they're going to find when they come into ReUp is there's some stuff that makes sense, and like there's some stuff that's just industry standard, and then there's some stuff that they're like, wow, this is completely new. I've never seen this. So we don't want somebody who's not willing to learn and lean into that new space. So the team goes through, we do a pretty intensive interview. It is based off of the STAR interview process. So we look for you to actually explain certain situations that you've been in, and things like that. And then it really goes into due diligence checks, making sure that, hey, is this something that makes sense? You're able to talk to our franchisees as well. We don't hide from that sort of stuff. We want to know. We want you to know what you're going to get into, because this is a long-term marriage. I mean, we're looking to at least be together for 5 years for the first term of your contract, maybe up to 15 if you want to continue to extend. Yeah. And then from there, If everything checks out, we're sitting there saying, let's walk down the aisle together. We're coming out to you to either onboard you in person. It is important for us to have those in-person touch points, or flying you out to one of our local franchisee network territories so you can sit there, see the project, see and touch and feel, and ask questions, and really start to roll up your sleeves.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great information. You mentioned the 5-year term, and for those playing along at home, there's 5-year term, 10-year terms. It depends on the franchise. It depends on the state laws, but in most cases, those could be renewable, assuming they're in good standing. So I don't want anybody to panic to say, I just gave them $50,000 and I'm not going to renew or not be able to renew. So how is that process going to work with you? As long as they're in good standing and doing a good job?
Yep, as long as they're in good standing, and actually, it's not another $50,000 fee. It's a $20,000 fee at the end of the 5-year term for another 5 years. And then it's another $20,000 fee for another 5-year term. We're not looking to make money off of the franchise upfront fees. That really covers the onboarding, the training. We really make our money, and we really run the table when we start to pump projects through. These aren't small things. We're not pushing subs, and you're making 85 cents a sub. Our typical projects paying out between $30,000 and $40,000 on average.
Yeah, you've invested a lot of money in technology. You're entitled to have that entrance fee, if you will. I call the franchise fee the mastermind fee.
Yep.
You're joining a group of people that know something that you want a piece of. So it's yeah.
And we're bringing the technology, we're bringing the patents, we're bringing the legal process. I mean, we're dealing typically with somebody's primary residency. There's a lot of legals around that somebody could really fall into pitfalls with if they're not careful. We're bringing the fund and everything. We're bringing the underwriting team, and all that training as well. It really is a very robust service that you get at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you covered this question I'm about to ask, but when it comes to like technology, and you mentioned patents and
Mhm.
trademarks and what have you, you've invested a lot in technology here. I mean, as far as the digitizing of the house, you
Mhm.
might have to kill me after you tell me what you do and how you do this, but there's obviously a process to that that not everybody either knows or
Mhm.
would ever do.
Yeah, so our technology layer is really, really powerful, and it all exists in your cell phone. So literally, I tell people, before the lidar sensors on cameras were pretty commonplace, we probably couldn't have done what we do. But we've patented that process. We do a lot of our trademarks as well. Our Go Flip Yourself trademark is trademarked. There's a ton of trademarks and IP protections, but really the process starts with the cell phone. So we're digitizing the house through a 2D schematic floor plan, and a cell phone walkthrough video. All of that LiDAR data is then ingested into our system. Our AI models on the back end are taking all that data, and that LiDAR information, and then building out the rough frame of the house. And then our designers that are based down in Colombia are going through, changing out the materials, being able to see what the house could look like with different materials in it. And then the most powerful thing is this is all delivered via the cloud and accessible first on your iPhone, or your Android device. And the typical software that you see in this space, it's $3,500 just to have a license of that software, and then you need a heavy Mac or a heavy PC to sit there and run this stuff. It's pretty revolutionary, the fact that we're able to deliver this 3D file via the cloud through any web browser.
I love this. I love the cutting edge stuff you're doing in an old, stodgy industry like real estate, and reimagining how things can be and putting the fun back in home buying and renovations and all that. So Ryan, you've been awesome. Final thoughts, final words of wisdom for those in general looking for a business, or final push on you.
Yeah, I'll say two things. While you're looking at businesses, look at the areas of protections that you have. And I'm not just saying, are they able to sell other franchises into your area, but what other competition are you going to have? If you buy that sub shop, is some other sub shop going to move in right next to you? We really at ReUp want to focus on blue oceans and abilities for people to not even be able to think about competing against us. So that's the first facet. And then the second thing that I'll say is we're really starting to see tailwinds for what we've built, and the NAR settlement, where buyers agents are not able to actually attach their commissions to the sale of a home, is something where ReUp is really now starting to take a lot of mention to real estate brokers, because we're designing that house exactly to the buyer's specifications, and that's an easy way for buyers agents to say, hey, I did all of this value for you. You should be able to pay me what I was worth. And that's just increasing our lead flow. So it's been a really, really nice, fun journey for us.
Genius. I love all that. Well, Ryan Sawchuk, founder, CEO for ReUp, thank you very much for being here and sharing your story.
Lance, I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.